All right, Gun Talk Hunters. Today we've got George Thompson of a Benelli, and we're going to find out what the best Benelli is. This episode of Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Franchi and the Benelli Super Black Eagle 3. All right, welcome in, Gun Talk Hunters. I'm your host, KJ. You can find me on the Instagrams at Flat Brim KJ. I mean, let's go. It's a flat brim, and that's just how I've been doing it since, man, when I was in junior high. I've always worn a flat brim, and I have no idea. And I know it's ridiculous, and it irritates you guys to no end, but it stays. With me today, we've got George Thompson of Benelli. George, welcome in.
Hey, thanks for having me, KJ.
And we pulled this together kind of almost last second. I was like, man, I want to get George on, talk about the season, talk about how it's been going. We've been putting the Lupo Benelli through its paces. We're shooting in 270 Winchester. And I'm telling you what, I know you guys hear this a lot, but if you're looking for like the Ferrari of like hunting rifles, I think the Lupo wins it hands down. Italian design, the lines of it scream like sports car.
Well, and the performance screams sports car as well. I think it's it's a really, really good product. I'm happy to hear that it's performing so well for you, and that we've got you believing in it, because we're really happy with how it turned out. And my kind of stance from the beginning has been, I believe it's the finest production grade rifle out in the market. And production grade simply means, it comes off a factory floor just like any of the other products do. It's not a custom gun or a semi-custom gun. I mean, it shoots circles around the competitors, and it's just,
it does. What have you guys been working on lately? I mean, as far as like the Lupo, and let's just start at the barrel, because I mean, realistically, I mean, that's where a lot of the accuracy comes from. If you're having accuracy issues with a production rifle, many times it's barrel. What are you guys doing different than everybody else?
well, the biggest difference is that we cryo-treat our barrels, right? Nobody at a production level is putting cryo-treated barrels on rifles, or shotguns for that matter. We're really the only game in town. And, that early on, a lot of people tried to say we're selling snake oil, or, it's marketing. And of course, there's always marketing behind what we do, but it's a technological benefit that gives us an advantage out in the market. It really does. And it's a match grade barrel. It's not a heavy barrel or a carbon barrel or any of that stuff, but it's a match grade barrel, cold hammer forged, that is cryo treated. And you're right, you can have the finest rifle in the world, and a bad barrel, you ain't going to shoot very good.
Man, it ruins your hunt. It ruins that new feel of your gun, because you get so excited about this gun, and you bring it in, and it just doesn't shoot. But I'll tell you this much: I took that gun, that 270, out on the range, and I mean, sub MOA at 100 yards. I mean, sub MOA really at 200 yards too. Now that I think about my group size on the 200 yard bullseye, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I just found the right pairing of ammo, but this sucker just shoots, and to have that confidence on the range going into the field is unprecedented.
That's not an anomaly. That's every that has Lupo on the side of it. The accuracy is obviously a big part of it. The barrel, is a big part of the accuracy. But it's really more than just the barrel, right? It's how we have that chassis lower receiver, right? And gives you steel to steel bedding, right? Which is, bedding is kind of the second thing as it relates to what hurts accuracy the most, right? You can take the greatest barrel in the world, put it in a crappy synthetic stock, and it's going to move in the stock, right? I mean, it's not properly. And a lot of guys try and fix that with glass bedding or pillar bedding or what have you. The Lupo bedding, being steel to steel and aluminum chassis, it's rock solid. It doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
It's premium barrel, cryo treated, and the most rigid mounting, system that you can have. It's a package, right? And there's a couple other things we keep talking about that add to that package, but that's what gives us the accuracy advantage. And one thing that I found, I've shot a lot of rifles and doing we call it benchmark testing, right? You shoot all the competitive products and you see how they perform compared to how you perform. And something that's always stuck out on me about the Lupo is that, it's not really hard to find a rifle that shoots well, right? What's hard to find is the ammo, right? Because most rifles only have a couple of different ammos that shoot really, really well out of it. The Lupo seems to shoot damn near every ammo that you put in it really, really well. And, I think that's a combination of the barrel, the cryo, the bedding. I remember in one of the first accuracy tests I did with the 30-06 Lupo, I shot 17 different kinds of ammo, different brands, bullet weights, bullet types. And out of those 17, I had 15 that shot sub MOA.
Wow.
The next closest competitor had like 4.
Okay.
So it's just night and day difference. It's a whole nother animal.
Well, and we look back at, I guess I'm used to kind of the old ways and I'm coming around to more of the new thinking, but used to, when you got an MOA gun, you were like, man, this gun is unbelievable.
You're high-fiving.
Oh, nowadays, if you have an MOA gun and it's just MOA, it's trash. It's garbage. Like and that's just where we are at with guns like the Lupo these days.
Yeah. And I might get hung out to dry on this one, but unfortunately, like when I was a kid, not even a kid, 15 years ago, MOA meant something, right?
Yeah.
Nobody really putting MOA guarantees or warranties on their products. Really few and far between that you'd find something like that. But over the last 15 or so years or whatever, unfortunately, MOA has turned into more of a marketing ploy than a specification, right? Because there's a whole bunch of rifles in the market right now that say MOA guarantee or MOA rifle, and they don't shoot MOA. I don't care how much ammo you put through it or how good of a shooter you are. If you get an MOA group out of some of these budget MOA rifles, that's luck, right? That's a coincidence. It's not a repeatable thing.
You jerk the trigger just at the right spot.
Right. And we had a lot of internal conversations about this early on because, Benelli is still new into this rifle segment. And, an MOA as a product guy, right? I'm not a marketer. I'm not a sales guy. I'm a product guy, right? So to say MOA, it's a specification for me, right? It's not a marketing ploy. Right. It's not a sales pitch. It either does it or it doesn't, right? Is it repeatable? Can I buy that ammo and put it in this gun and shoot MOA every single time? Or is it half the time or quarter of the time? And in my mind, unless it's repeatable every single time, it's not MOA, right? It's coincidence. Right. So anyway, I don't want to get up on my soapbox, but MOA used to mean something. And unfortunately, some companies in our industry have kind of trashed what it means. And they put these guarantees on there knowing that if a person buys a rifle and can't shoot MOA, he's kind of been trained to blame something other than the gun, right?
Right.
It's windy. Oh, it's the wrong ammo, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We're not just putting sub MOA on it to market it, right? It's a product specification for us. Every will shoot sub MOA. And if it doesn't, I expect to hear from you.
Oh, yeah. And we're talking to George Thompson of Benelli, and we're talking about Lupo, and we're talking about accuracy. I know you've got some success stories that are coming in from the field. And I'm sure your hunting season has been kicking off this year. What adventures have you been going on right now?
Well, it's funny because before we started recording, we were talking about some of the hunts that I'm either been on or getting ready to go on. But we have a really interesting dynamic inside here at Benelli USA because I'm not the only one that goes on these adventures, right? My boss also goes on these adventures, and as of late, he seems to have taken a lot of the big name ones, right? So,
well, of course,
my trips so far this year have all been waterfowl focused. Naturally, I've done some Lupo hunts. I bagged a nice whitetail the end of last year with one. I've gone to Africa a couple of times shooting plains game. Been super successful there, of course. But all the hunts I have upcoming are waterfowl hunts to talk about our new Super Black Eagle 28 gauge, which is a different topic.
Well, no, hey, that's all hunting. So it's all on the board here. And I know the waterfowl season is getting started. Well, it's been started, teal, and now we've had a split a few weeks ago. But I do want to jump into that. I want to jump into the SBE3 in 28 gauge because man, what a soft shooting gun.
Yeah, it's doing much better than a lot of people thought it would this year. In my opinion, the timing is just perfect, right? We've got a market, a demographic out there that's getting a little bit older, right? They've been hunting waterfowl for quite a while. They've done it with the 12 gauge. They've been doing it with the 20 gauge. You got this ammunition that's been developed in 28 gauge, which is just dynamite. I mean, it really is, whether it's Boss or Heavy Shot or Apex or Migra or whatever. It's just dynamite ammunition. And to shoot, big old honkers or snow geese or big mallards with a 28 gauge, it's a whole lot of fun, man. It really is.
I just, man, where's that line of what are we going to come up with next? I mean, you start thinking about, used to it was, 12 gauge was the gun you ran for waterfowl. That was the only thing. That was the only girl on the block. Like that's what that's what you went with. But now, like, then the 20 gauge came out, and now you guys are launched the 28 gauge. Did you just see a demand in the market there that guys were like wanting that? Did you have a lot of requests for that?
No, not a lot of requests. I've always been a 28 gauge fan. I grew up shooting a lot of skeet and sporting clays with a 28 gauge. So I always had kind of an affinity towards it. I know how well they perform from a pattern perspective. And we launched an Ethos in 28 gauge back in like 2015, I want to say. That was our first ever 28 gauge. It too was a 3-inch gun. That was a kind of a joint project between Benelli and Fiocchi to develop this 3-inch 28 gauge load. And, I did a lot of hunting with that on upland, and I saw how devastating it was on pheasants. And ever since then, I've kind of been, man, if we could get ammunition like available at a mass market level instead of this specialty hand loaded stuff, I mean, there's really something here, because a 28 gauge with the right load it'll drop any waterfowl out there within, say, I don't know, 40 yards, give or take.
Wow.
And so I've always kind of seen it was there, but not a lot of people were asking about it, right? What they were asking about and what was being talked about a lot was shooting turkeys with 410s, right? That's kind of been this trend for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years is shooting turkeys at, 60, 70, 80 yards with a 410. And so that was kind of the basis for wanting to do this 28 gauge in waterfowl. Go ahead.
Well, I look at the 410 craze, and now I'm looking at the SBE3 going, well, hold on a second. They've got a SBE3 in a turkey model here in 12 gauge. I was like, where's the 410? I'm looking at it. So I'm just going to, I want to throw it out there, man. When are you going to come out with a SBE3 and a 410?
Well, I'd love to do one. Right now, the engineers haven't figured out how to make it run.
Yeah.
So, with an inertia operated gun, which is what all Benellis are, there's an energy to weight ratio that has to be there for the gun to run reliably. And to get the energy of a 410 to cycle correctly, we've got to make the gun like so incredibly light that we just can't figure out how to do it yet.
Okay. All right. So all you guys wondering, that's the reason why.
I'm not going to say never, because, you never say never with the Benelli engineers.
Right.
They take everything as a challenge. And we talk about a 410. We've been talking about a 410 for as long as I can remember, quite honestly.
Yeah.
It's not anywhere on the horizon, I can tell you.
All right. Never say never. We're talking with George Thompson of Benelli. We're going to jump into a break right here. And on the back side, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the best series from Benelli. And you're going to want to hang on to this, because if you want a beautiful gun and something that runs the lights out, you're going to want to hang on. All right, we're brought to you by Benelli, and we're going to talk about best coming up, but I'm going to give you a sneak peek right here. It's the Benelli surface treatment. It is a proprietary treatment applied to guns, and so that's what you're going to hear about in the next coming segment. And this isn't your normal coating. This is something they came up with. This is brand new, and this is across a couple lines of the Benelli guns that you're going to see, like the Lupo, the Ethos, the Super Black Eagle 3. So there's some variations in there that you're going to want to listen up to, because if you're heading out into harsh conditions, you need something that will last, not only in your lifetime, but your kids as well. All right, we're back with George Thompson of Benelli, and do you want to know what the best Benelli is? All right, George, you got to tell them what it is, because I was cruising through the website a couple of days ago, and I was like, well, how come I haven't heard anything on the best Benelli yet? And it's in rifles and shotgun series.
Yeah. So BEST is just an acronym for Benelli surface treatment, which is a proprietary metal treatment that prevents rust and corrosion, and is incredibly abrasion resistant as well. So, a little bit of history on that. I took over Benelli way back in 2009, and I grew up hunting sea ducks here in the Chesapeake Bay, which is saltwater, right? So rust was like the bane of our existence, right? I mean, you go out in the morning, your gun's cleaned and oiled, you're out till after dark in the evening, and your gun's already rusty by that time, right? And God forbid, in a case and forget about it for a few days, then you have a nightmare, right? Then you're buying barrels or replacing parts.
Yeah.
When I took over Benelli in 2009, I said, look, guys, we're selling the best waterfowl shotguns in the world. We need to solve this rust issue. Like, the guns are designed to hunt in wet condition. They're designed to be used in saltwater marshes. We got to figure out a solution, right?
Yeah.
And roughly 10 years later, in about, I don't know, let's just say $4 million, they figured it out. And that is the best treatment. It's a proprietary technology. We're the only ones in the world that can do it. And it's a hybrid PVD, PE, CVD technology, right? Which is basically it's a vapor deposition technology, right? Kind of like they use on knives or on like some handgun slides, right? A PVD coating.
Yep.
Kind of like that in the application. But if you were to use that same technology on a shotgun barrel, you'd warp the barrel, right? Because it's a very high heat technology. Mm-hmm. And shotgun barrels are very, very thin. So it would warp the barrels. And the proprietary nature of it, what makes it so unique and special, is that we designed a way to do it at a cold temperature. It's basically at room temperature. So that maintains all the ballistic properties of a shotgun barrel. Now, of course, we improve the recipe, right, by adding some diamond-like particles and graphite and other things to make the coating itself even better. But it is an amazing finish. It can get put on any steel. And when we put it on the shotguns, it's a total treatment. And what I mean by that is it's not just the barrel. It's all the pieces that could rust, right? Like some examples, the pin that holds the trigger assembly in, best treated. The little stud at the end of the forend where you put your sling swivel, best treated. The trigger itself, best treated. The bolt release button, best treated. The bolt handle, best treated. So any steel part on the gun that isn't nickel plated is best treated.
Right.
So it's a total package. You can literally submerge the gun in salt water, put it in a case, take it out a month later, and there's no rust on it.
No.
It is. It's an amazing technology.
Guys.
No, it's an amazing technology, and it's legit. We put a 25-year warranty on it, and we could have very easily went lifetime because it's never going to rust. I mean, the testing, the laboratory testing they've done on this, they basically did the saltwater spray test. I forget the ASTM number, but they did it for like 2 months, and we're like, yeah, nothing's changing. Like, this is a waste of time.
Right.
Kind of anecdotally, when I got the first sample, the first sample that we got in was just a barrel, by the way. And I got think I got 4 of them. And I took the barrel off of one, and my Franchi product manager lives on a tidal creek of the Potomac River, which is a, brackish saltwater creek.
Yeah.
Said, hey, dude, tie a string to this and throw it as far as you can out into the creek. And I'll come and we'll get it back in a week or two. And I want to see what it does. Right. So he did that. And then about 5 months later, I took the box for that gun because I had a sales meeting that I needed to go to present some products. I grabbed the box for that gun, opened it up, and I was like, where the hell's the barrel?
It's awful light.
Yeah. And like I was completely drawing a blank. I was like, where the hell is this barrel? And I'm scavenging all over the place. And a few days later, the light bulb went off and was like, I had Brett throw that in the creek behind his house. Oh my God, I forgot all about it. So he pulls this thing in and brings it into me at work the next day. He had forgotten about it too. Brings it in the next day and he hands it to me, and it's just brown, like front to back, inside and outside, it's brown. And I had like an OS moment, right? Like, oh my God, this is a problem, right? So I took it in the bathroom here and I put it in the sink, right? And I'm rinsing it off under the sink. It was just covered in mud. Every brown came off. And what was underneath was like a brand new gloss blue barrel. And I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, holy crap, this
I should have only wiped off half of this.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I've been asking for. This is amazing. Right. And I've been a believer ever since. I do a bunch of media events, and I have kind of a spiel that I do on these media events. I show up, and obviously all our guns show up in these like Pelican cases.
Yeah.
So I bring a bag of Instant Ocean with me, which if you ever had a saltwater aquarium at home, that's what you use to make the saltwater for the saltwater.
Okay.
Pit, right. You buy it at Petco or PetSmart or whatever, Amazon. It's just salt that you add to regular water to make salt water. Right. So I show up and I have all these writers gather around, and I mix up this 5-gallon bucket of water with salt water. Right. And I fill up the Pelican case with it. I put our barrel in there. Actually, I put our gun in there. And then I take a competitor's gun that I brought with me and put it in there. And then I hook up this terrarium like bubbler thing that basically makes it foggy and misty inside the Pelican case. And I say, all right, guys, we're going to close this up and we're going to come look at it in a couple of days. And every time it's like jaw dropping, because you open that case up and this like fog comes pouring out of it, and the competitive product, whatever one it is just rusted to hell, and ours is just sitting there pretty and brand new. It's a really powerful demonstration, but it is legit is the point that I'm trying to make. It will rust.
But you're doing that coating on the Lupo series of hunting rifles,
right,
and shotguns. I think the Super Black Eagle 3 and the Ethos Cordoba.
Yeah, so we do it on Super Black Eagle 3 12 gauge, Super Black Eagle 3 20 gauge. Coming out here in about 30 days. I don't know when you're going to air this, but at SHOT Show at 23, we're going to have a Super Black Eagle 3 28 gauge.
Awesome.
And then we do our entire Ethos line, which there's a 12 and 28 gauge inside of that. And we do 2 different versions of our Lupo rifle, one in open country with the best treatment on it, and a second with a wood stock and best treatment on it. And again, all of those are total treatments, right? It's not just internal or not just external. It's external, internal, any of the steel parts that could rust, they're best treated.
And you guys are, I mean, the rider events that you guys go on, you're going all the way up to the Aleutian Islands. I mean, you guys kind of go anywhere the conditions are harsh, and you got some coming up. What waterfowl hunts you got coming up?
So first up is a flooded timber hunt, and it's a 28 gauge hunt, by the way, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're working with Heavy Shot on that one to test out some of their new loads, which are like dynamite sticks. And then after that, I've got a Missouri hunt, and then I've got a Wisconsin hunt, and now all of those are Super Black Eagles. I don't remember offhand which ones we're taking best,
right?
But they're all in the mix. And
but I mean, a wide variety, and you got to think that duck hunters are not kind to their gear typically.
No.
I've never met a lot of duck hunters that are, they baby their gear, they're cleaning after every set. I just haven't met many of those guys. I'm not that guy when I go out.
I'm not either. And, quite honestly, I think that's why people buy Benellis in the first place, is they don't have to take care of them, right? They just want to know when they pull it out of the case.
I've got a Benelli Vinci, an original Benelli Vinci that is screaming for some love because I do not clean that thing. It runs just fine. I've cleaned it once. That's it. and it's original.
I a couple of months ago, we did a Lupo hunt in Alaska, and we were on Kodiak, and so it was a best hunt, right? All the writers had best guns, but because of inventory, I did not. I personally,
poor guy.
Because I'm, I can have whatever, it doesn't matter, right? I did not have a best gun, and I don't know, if you've ever hunted Kodiak or not, but it's brutal, man. It's a lot of walking. It's super thick. It's always wet, and those guns took a beating, and but. So after the hunt, I got home. I took my gun out of the case, and I wish I could show you. I took pictures of it. It was a standard blued finish gun, front to back. It's fully rusted, the whole bloody thing. And so, I had all the writers take pictures of their guns, and we put them all together.
Yeah.
Their guns now they have a mark or two on the stock here or there, right on the synthetic stocks, but the metal, it's literally the same as when they left. And my blue gun is destroyed. Like we sell it as a used gun. So
it's funny.
We charge, like, depending on the model, it's roughly $200 for the best treatment. It's
worth it. Well, no, it's funny you mentioned Kodiak because I was there 1st of October, around that time. And it trashed. The guns that I was using, I had little rust spots, but every night I would have to go back and I would have to maintain it, oil it up, make sure it's good. I did that, and I still, especially on my rings, man, they were trashed. And these were like nice rings. They were top of the line.
Yeah, I remember the first night we got back, and all the writers they said, "Hey, should we need to clean these guns?" And we were actually on a boat. It was a boat-based hunt, so there wasn't a lot of room or any of that. And I said, no, don't clean it. Put it over there in the corner, use it tomorrow. You don't have to do anything to it. Because I wanted to see, right? You want to see what's going on.
Yeah, you want to see it, but man, I'm telling you, if you're taking a gun without any coatings, I highly recommend take you a little cleaning thing, like a cleaning kit, like something small, because you're gonna need it. And especially in Kodiak, because it's either spitting rain or it's drizzling, or it's always something.
Yep, every day.
Yeah.
I'd recommend leave the cleaning kit at home and go buy a Benelli.
There you go. That's all we need to do. Well, we do have SHOT Show coming up, and again, this is probably going to air around the 17th or 24th, one of those days, like one of those weeks. But is there any insight in what you can give, that maybe any hints for all our Benelli fans out there that are looking at what's coming up?
I'm comfortable doing that. So for 2023, from an SKU level, from like a number of items, we have more new products than we've ever had before, and it's considerably more. It's a giant number of SKUs that's been incredibly difficult to manage, selfishly, but we are refreshing our entire M2 and Montefeltro portfolio. So all of the M2s, all of the Montefeltros are going to get updated and refreshed. Those guns are going to have obviously new cosmetics, right? A little bit different look to them. All the ergonomics have been improved, following some experience with the Super Black Eagle 3 series. They're going to have improved bolt bodies, improved like shell latches, all little bits and pieces from the Super Black Eagle, right? All the things we've learned and improved upon there. Some of that's going to bleed down to the entry level guns, the Montefeltros and the M2s.
Awesome.
I already mentioned the Super Black Eagle 3 and 28 gauge in best.
That's awesome.
That's super exciting. We're also going to have some 828Us, which are our over and unders. We're going to have a steel frame version of that, which up to this point, they've all been aluminum.
Yep.
And those steel frame guns are also going to be best treated. So that's a pretty cool product. The steel frame is not incredibly sexy in and of itself. It does add weight and makes the gun recoil a little less. But the best treatment's really kind of a big deal on those.
Yeah.
And what
I'm excited to see you guys at SHOT Show. I'll make sure to stop by the booth because you guys always have the best display out there. I mean, it really shows the durability of a Benelli.
Yeah, we're going to have a whole bunch of guns there. I actually just submitted our gun list a few days ago. We'll have the same giant display that we always do. All these new products will be there. So you can come by and handle them for yourself, or we can do some videos or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And obviously out in any customers listening, just keep your ears open. We'll be broadcasting it everywhere the first day of SHOT Show.
Awesome. Well, George, I sure do appreciate your time, man. And we'll see you out in Vegas.
Yeah, see you there, buddy. Thank you.
All right, George. All right, Gun Talk Hunters, you know the drill. Keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.